Okay, so one, two, three. We're here with Nina Takesh, Michael, myself, and Ian. We're hosting the podcast. Nina,
Hi, everyone.
we're so happy to have you on.
Thank
Um,
you for having me. I'm so excited. This is really fun.
oh, of course. I was so inspired by your story personally when we connected, some weeks ago. We've been on and off with some calls. We're doing a few things. I love this story. I know anyone that listens would be very inspired.
Heard a lot of
So,
cool
Nina,
things.
I'd love Yeah, so Nina, I'd love to ask you just to dive in on it really, because I'm personally very interested. I just read a whole article on you. Can you tell me your story? Like, how'd you get involved in what you're doing? I know you're an interior designer, you have collaborations. How'd you get started? What's the Nina Takesh story?
What is the Nina story? Okay, so I feel we were talking about myself, but let me just get right into it.
Yeah, you can
So,
speak about anything, broadly, specific. I know it's all cool, so.
well, to be honest, I have, as a child, I always knew there was something that I was meaning to do that was going to be bigger and greater than the things that I had seen around me, and I didn't know what that was exactly. But it was always about design or architecture. I remember, my father's an architect, so I grew up, surrounded by architectural plans and going to open houses for fun and just really living this life where your surroundings really meant a lot. And funny enough, we moved here in the late 70s from Tehran, from Iran, and we happened to buy Joan Collins's house. And that was really my first foray into what a beautiful mid-century home was. And she hadn't started Dynasty yet, and she was selling this incredible mid-century home. And she moved a lot throughout her life, and so this
So
house
you
was
so you moved from Tehran to Beverly Hills. Is your
Beverly Hills.
you're located?
Yes.
Okay, continue. I love this.
With my parents. I was very young. I think I was maybe 7 at the time. And I remember touring houses with my parents because they're like, okay, we now have to buy our family home. What do you think? And I was very involved in the process. And I said, this is the house we must purchase. And it was this beautiful mid-century home where it was literally floor to ceiling glass everywhere, and it had a view of all of Los Angeles in the back, which is very unusual for Beverly Hills because it was perched on a little hill.
Mm.
And it was a dream to have lived there. But beyond that, and I did study, art in school and just in high school. And my parents were always pushing me to study business, to go to business school. And my sister would go to law school, and all of the things that parents do who really want to push you to do better. But I felt like I really loved interior design more than business. So I I went to undergrad. I graduated and went to business school. And then I was lucky enough to move to Paris uh, for my MBA. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to do the MBA, because I wanted to live in Paris. And that is where I met my husband, and he was from Argentina. He was also in the business school. We got married and then moved to Buenos Aires. So I was basically traveling all over the place. I couldn't stay put.
Very cool.
And while I was in Argentina, I worked for Kimberly Clark doing marketing for Huggies diapers. And then I thought, well, because I had an MBA, so I had to work in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And so I worked, doing Huggies diapers and Little Swimmers marketing, and was very lucky to have been hired in a foreign country, and moved up ranks a little bit. And then we decided to move back to Los Angeles, my husband and and that's where everything started. So I told him I didn't want to work in the corporate world anymore. I wanted to do my own thing. And he said, well, I'll invest. And I said, great. And,
Nice husband. I love
yeah, I would love that. He's like, I'll invest. I believe in you. It's going to be great. And, we did all our due diligence, and we spent hours looking at the business plan and the model. And we were actually going to buy an existing baby store that had been running for 17 years. And 5 minutes, literally, like the day before we were supposed to buy this business, he pulls out and says, I'm just not feeling it. And I said, we just spent the last 6 months to a year doing all the due diligence and doing all the analysis, and this is a great business, and I can do this. And he said, well, I just don't know. And I spoke to my parents, and they just don't think it's a good idea. So I was left devastated, because whenever I set my mind to do something, I do it. And I had spent all this time doing the work,
prepping, right, for it.
And this was going to be my entrance into, the world of business. And I believed that I had the background, and I had done, the work to have gotten here. And, I worked at $5 an hour. In Argentina, the wages are a lot lower. So I worked $5 an hour, 80-hour weeks. And I was like, this is my moment. This is what I'm going to do. And when he pulled out, I looked inward, and I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And me pushing and wanting to do it anyway, I believe, was the catalyst to the end of my marriage. And I went to the SBA, and I got a loan, because I didn't have, much money. I mean, I had gone to business school, I had student loans, all sorts of things. And everything that my husband had, he had gotten, he was very lucky because he had money, and he had money from his parents. But I wasn't going to rely on that either. I mean, that's not me to just.
No, I feel like individual. Yeah, like you're an entrepreneur. You want to do you. I feel the vibe.
Me. So I said, okay, forget it. Forget it. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the SBA. I'm going to ask for money. So I had done so much work for the due diligence of this, buying this other business. I had catalogs, and I had projections, and Excel sheets of forecasts and so forth, and business analyses, and business plan, and all of those things. And so I went to the SBA, and as a woman, I knew I was a minority. I had done some work before for the SBDC when I was in business school, just like an internship. So I knew a little bit about it. And I applied for a $100,000 loan, and I was like the quickest business to have gotten the loan within such short amount of time. I got the 100,000, and then I thought, okay, now I got to tell my husband that I got this loan and do the business anyway. So I went up to him. I said, I just want you to know I applied to the bank, the SBA. I got the loan, and I'm opening the business anyway. And he said, what? And I said, yeah, I'm doing it anyway. I got the loan, and I know the terms of the loan. I'm going to pay back. I'm going to get it done. And I ended up starting my own business with the money that I got from the SBA. And I paid it off, within the terms of the loan. And it became one of the most successful baby businesses out there, because of the fact that we captured the market. We were able to bring, everyone, the whole concept of the one-stop shop really started there, where instead of going to 3 different stores to get your goods, you would get everything under one roof. So from your breast pump to your strollers, to your crib, to the design, to everything. And we then, I kept going and going, and was lucky enough to get into Target and end cap. We got into Babies R Us, Bye Bye Baby, Burlington Coat Factory, under, lower labels, go for the mass.
Yeah. Those are big parts.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, okay, that's it. I can now die, because for anyone who's gone to business school, once you get into Target, you're like, I made it to Target. You can put that on my tombstone, and I've done what I wanted to
Target, do. The end, right?
The end. Yeah. The end. So I was, very, very pleased to have done that. And
amazing. I want to clap for you, for real. Yeah, I'm listening. I love it. And it's really interesting to hear that, because I've heard a lot of success stories, which it's great to hear. But your story where the finances, how it started, I feel like that's a really important thing, because it pushes you at even a higher level. It's almost like an adrenaline rush that you would get physically. You could people lift the car up or something. When you have those types of beginnings, it motivates you and pushes you, the willpower and just the horsepower. It's you went from this to a Ferrari, right? You're fully going now. I feel. And
Yeah,
it's,
exactly. And no one was going to tell me no. In fact, the more obstacles I had, the more I said, well, I'm going to do this anyway. There's no way I'm not going to do this.
yeah.
And it would have been easier for me to just stay at home and and I could have, and been a docile wife, but that just wasn't me. That's not who I was. That's not who I was born to be.
Yeah.
And,
Love it.
come
So
hell or high water,
yeah, once
I
you
had
got
to
these
do this.
partners, what happened from there when you got like to Target? Like that's big.
So yes, we got to Target. Things blew up. We started doing nurseries for very high-end celebrities, from Jennifer Lopez, Gwen Stefani. I mean, literally, Gwen Stefani walked into the showroom, said, "Can you do my nursery?" We're like, "Okay." I mean, it was like that. It was just
That-
living in a dream, really, and being very, very, very hardworking. Because remember, I started this business, and I had a partner at the time, a friend of mine that I brought in because I didn't want to do it alone. And so, we put all of our eggs into one basket and work, 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 work. And I found out soon thereafter that my husband was having an affair, and I had a 1.5-year-old and a new business. And as you know, you don't make a profit in the first year or two. So I found myself literally single, um, $0 and $100,000 loan over my head, and a newborn
1-year-old. Yeah.
divorce. And so it was probably not probably it was the lowest moment of my life, and I didn't know how I was going to get out of it, because at this point I couldn't leave and just and hope for a job at Kimberly Clark or another consumer packaged goods company,
You're all in at this moment.
because I now have this loan on top of my head that I have to repay, and it's a big loan. And how am I going to pay that and get a job? Like I can't. I gotta stick to it. And so it was everything or nothing. So, I literally poured every ounce of me into this business. And there were times where I would be in the store yelling, at my ex-husband, get in the middle of the divorce, and then like a client would come in, we'd hang up the phone, and I'd be like, "Oh, hi, would you like to buy a crib?" I mean, it was crazy. It was literally crazy. And luckily it blew up, and it was very successful. And then but deep down, there was always a part of me that, although, design is my thing, that I wanted to really just focus on design, not just design of nurseries and places like that. I wanted to do homes. And so I had, throughout the years that I worked at the baby store and ran and did everything, I had unilaterally done homes. So I would buy a house, gut renovate it, redo everything, style it, design it, and then I would sell it, or I would do a flip.
Oh wow.
And then I ended up building my own house from the ground up. I was lucky. I found a piece of land in Beverly Hills, which was very affordable, and it was just one of those things. It was right around the crash, right before the crash, and so people were offloading things, and so I got this beautiful piece of land. And then what began the journey of building my home, which took many, many years, because we had to build pilasters and grading, and it was very, very costly to build. So, and that was one of the reasons why the land was so inexpensive, because of the fact that it had never been a home before. So while I was running, the baby store, I was building my own house. I built my own house, and then I just knew more than anything that this was my life's mission. And we closed the store, I want to say 3 years ago. And then I went full force into interior design, but not just for myself, but for clients. And it also became a huge success rather quickly, not because I'm lucky, but because I've spent endless hours working. I think
Yeah.
there's a definite correlation between
Oh yeah.
working hard and success, and never giving up. I mean, there were times I wanted to give up. Believe me, it wasn't easy. There was definitely not easy being in retail. There were times where we weren't making any money because it was a tough economy. When the market crashed, we had 2 stores, we had to close one. How are we going to redirect this? How are we going to negotiate with the landlords? What are we going to do with the excess inventory? I mean, it was always a fight, and this ability to just keep moving,
Yeah.
keep moving, and not give up. And this is the same thing I teach, my kids. I say, you just cannot give up. You just have to keep going and keep pushing. And from the outside, it looks like everything just fell into place. But it was, I mean, I ended up in the hospital. I was so devastated by my divorce, and didn't, to the point where my doctor's like, Nina, if you end up in the hospital again, because I ended up in the hospital twice right around that time, between starting the business and my divorce and a newborn and everything else, I was
You were breaking down. It's
110 pounds, 5'8". I mean, I was just breaking down.
That's
And
that period that turns you into like the Terminator. Let's not say the Terminator, but you know what I mean, right? Like you went through the dark. You almost got comfortable with the dark to
I
get
got
out of
comfortable
it.
with the dark. I was like,
I feel
the
you,
dark
and I
room.
love it. And I'm so happy you're here. Ian, I told you, like, she has a special, like, you're very special.
I could tell, like
Yeah, for all the women too, because you're our first woman guest.
Yay, a
Yeah,
woman! Yeah.
yes. And I have a baby girl on the way. My girl is 5.5 months pregnant, so like I can't wait to show this to my girl when she's a little older, But for all the women out there too, like I'm so happy we have you here. It's major because you really pushed through and you made it happen. You didn't give up, and all these things like you said, your kids. We have like a 30 to I'd say 65-year-old audience, but even the younger kids, like they're gonna really like absorb this. So it's major. So I really do appreciate it. I want to commend you too, for real, because I know it's like it's an entrepreneur's journey. We go through it too. Ian knows there's dark times, but if you don't give up, you'll go through, and people they think, oh, she's lucky. Like that's something too. I'm happy you touched on, because that's just not what it is.
The harder you work, the luckier you get,
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, she grew up with a background of privilege. Yes, that is true, and I was very lucky in that sense, because I was able to travel the world, and I was able to get the to understand history and have the ability to go to great schools. Mm-hmm. However, the moment I graduated from school, my parents said, okay, so just so you know, and I had gotten my first job, they said, just so you know, we are not going to be paying your rent anymore. And I said, what? I mean, what? What do you mean we're not paying your rent anymore? Like, we're not paying your rent. You graduated from business school, you have a full-time job. And it was minimal full-time. I mean, it was full-time, but it was, it was a small salary for opening, first job. And I said, well, surely you mean you will at least pay my car? And they're like, no, we're not paying your car. And I'm like, health insurance? No. Car payment? No car payment. Gas? No. Food? Nothing. And I am so glad they did that. I found out later that it was my sister who told my dad to tell me that. He didn't have the heart to do it, but she's like, you have to, because otherwise she'll never be hungry. And then she'll never, ever get to the place she needs to be. And I remember later on, decades later, I only found this out, like, I want to say 5 years ago that this happened. This whole time I thought it was my dad's idea, but it wasn't. It was my sister, who's always been super crazy independent and psychotic about, like.
I was just going to say, it makes you not dependent. It will make you independent. Yeah.
And that is what I believe truly pushed me, because at that point I thought to myself, okay, now I have to pay for everything. I had to budget, where I had purchased myself a new car. I was living in a nice apartment, and I was making money, but it wasn't going to cover it. So I remember doing the calculations, and I ended up having a $3 a day food allowance after I paid my rent, my car payment, my insurance, etc. So I thought, with $3, how am I going to live with the $3 food budget? And that's when I realized I had to get a second job. I had to get a second job, so I would work full time, and then I did independent. I was doing, that's where I worked at the SBDC for the Valley Economic Development Center, giving advice to small businesses on how to grow and how to get money from the state in order to be able to run their businesses better. And, the government issues in the states and the different cities issue different funds and grants for small businesses to do better because it trickles into the economy. So that's what I was basically doing that on a part-time basis, writing reports and telling business, like a small flower shop, if you do this, you can improve that, and then you can get this funding, et cetera, et cetera. And ironically, that knowledge that I got, because my parents are like, you got to pay for your own things, where I had to get a second job, is what I used in order to get my own loan, because I knew I was a minority from having done all of that, that I would qualify. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. And
it was a lesson you realized.
yeah, easy road is never the good road. Giving your kids everything, just handing it to them, is really is a disservice, and it's a deterrent from success, and it's a deterrent from happiness, because I suffered so much working 2 jobs, and having to literally, I would go to my sister, I couldn't eat lunch like everybody else. I couldn't go to Subway and get a sandwich because I had a $3 a day allowance. So I would buy, you know, bulk rice and corn and whatever, and I would drive to my sister's house, and she had a kitchen because she was closer to my work than I was, and I would make a little thing in her kitchen, and I would eat there, and I'd go back, and so I could stay on budget. And then little by little by little by little, I learned exactly how to manage money, and this is what led me to really understand cash flow and how to manage and how to be responsible and all the things that you need. But had my parents just kept giving me money, I don't know what would have happened.
And the word you use is the best word I've ever heard yet in this regard. You said disservice. That's major. Rather than like saying it's a recipe for disaster, or going to make a brat, or whatever it may be, or a spoiled kid, like you said, disservice, which is so accurate, because, you know, it literally is that, right? If you don't give them, you know, those moments where they need to like trip and fall to grow, you know, you can't hold their hand forever. The training wheels have to fall off. They have to come off the bicycle at some point. You know,
Exactly.
even for me, that's major. Like when I have a daughter, I want to give her everything, but I have to balance.
And as a parent, it's hard to hold back.
Yeah, and I'm with your dad. I have a big heart, so I already feel the vibes like your dad had, you know.
Yeah.
So I gotta have another one. I gotta tell my girl we need another kid, so that one's gonna hold the other one accountable. No, I like that.
And you have to say from the beginning, like I tell my kids, I have 2 boys, I said, okay, just so you know, the moment you get a job full-time out of college, I'll pay for college, but the moment you get a job, you got to pay for, you know. And then they both, you know, their summer jobs, et cetera, et cetera. And I always gave them an allowance according to their age, and then I would let them buy things so they understood what it meant. What does $6 mean to an 8-year-old? Well,
and you're prepping them for that moment, which I love. Rather than the day coming and boom, cut off, you're prepping them to get themselves ready and knowledgeable, prepared, right, to be independent. So I'm about to take that. I'm gonna use that too.
Yeah. I feel like schools don't really educate.
They don't teach you any of that, and nor do they give you advice. Parents, like, this is what you need to do at home. By the way, give your kid an allowance. People are like, I don't want to give my child money. Why? Because I don't want them to, I'll just buy it. No, the idea is that they have to understand, you know, what this money is worth, and how much candy can they buy with the $6, even though, you know, what does that mean? Like, what?
So let them remove an airhead. They got to take a lollipop out. They got to manage. They got to learn. I'm with you.
And it would hurt my heart so badly when I would make him pay for things. I'm like, you have to pay for that yourself. And it hurts. It hurts. I don't want to do it. I would rather pay for it. But I go back to that lesson, you know, right after business school, where had I not been cut off completely, I don't know where I would be today. I don't know if I would have been able to survive my divorce. Who knows where I would be? Because all of the things that set me up for success came from hardship. And hardship is very important in order to have sanity. You know, you see a lot of very wealthy families that have children, and the unfortunate circumstances within which they fall, where, you know, they're privy to drugs and everything else because they get bored. If you have everything, what's there to look forward to?
Yeah.
There's boredom that comes, and with boredom comes drugs and all sorts of things. I mean, I sound like a preacher now, but, you know, I see it time and time and time again.
Yeah, no, you're 100%. We're in this space, you know, we're both here I live a nice life, and I have a very aligned story to you too. It's pretty interesting, and I'll be very brief. And my dad's a jeweler. My other side, my mother and my grandfather, is a media. We own a media business. And when I graduated or left college, I started my own brand, Michael Lewis. And I had $485. I would work 9 to 5 at my dad's jewelry store, vacuuming the floors, Windexing the counters. I was a young boy, and my dad sells very expensive items. So no one would come in the store and want to deal with me to buy like a $40,000, bracelet or a pair of earrings. I'm very young, so I was only able to be, fruitful to the company to, Windex and things like this. And then I spent, to get right out of that, 9 to 5, saving up some money. I spent $485 creating a card holder. I was very into fashion. And I created it, put it on the internet. It sold. And I borrowed money from my girlfriend. My parents are the same way. They're not going to give me anything. I have to work 9 to 5 to get $80, $100, which I'm grateful to have that. But yeah, I borrowed $9,000 from my girlfriend. Her father had passed away when she was a little younger, so she inherited X amount. And for me, similar to your story, like this type of financial structure kept me up till 4 a.m. working on this, because I was so like, I got to give my girl back her money, this and that. But I was able to create a full collection of card holders, all different colors and pythons and crocodiles. And a year later, we did over $1 million in sales, $1.4 million the first year. I was 21 years old. I left school, which I wish I finished. But that type of system and motivator, I think, and like the reality of that current moment, I got comfortable in the dark, like I said, and I would just stay up till 4 a.m. So I feel like I was raised right with the money, but I think I went very hard. I had some health stuff too, because I stayed up very late. But I really love what you said, and it's about like giving them like the money and then like measuring out life. You can't give them everything, they need to check off their own goals and bucket lists and, no matter how good things could be, so
Exactly.
I love what you said. It's awesome. But, aside from that, I love the whole thing. We went on that and it's amazing. I want to even ask you on an interior decor, like conversation. What would you say to someone that's really passionate about this space? Like, how would they start? How do they get involved? What is like your recommendations for this person, and that would love to do this?
Well, that's a good question. And the reality is that if you are passionate about something, no matter what, it comes through. So if you love interior design and you live and breathe it like I do, I mean, I spend hours and hours and hours and hours looking at images, even before before Pinterest, even, I think. Yes, before Instagram. You find a resource, whether it's books, whether it's now the internet, and you just absorb and study and study and study. And if you love doing it, it's not going to be a problem. You're going to be very interested in doing it. And to start, to get some experience, do it for free. Offer your services for free and say, I would love to get a summer internship at whatever design firm is in your neighborhood, or if you have a relative or if you have a friend that's in it, and say, I just want to shadow you and I'll go do the grunt work. Like, you have to start from the bottom and you have to give your dues. A lot of people, unfortunately, these days want it quickly. And I understand that everything happens so fast, but it's not a quick thing. But if you're dedicated and you are relentless and you don't give up, eventually you're going to outpace all the other people who give up. So that's, the difference between, I think, me and some maybe other designers or aspiring designers, is that I didn't give up. When I closed, the retail baby store, which was great and successful, I had to start from zero again, basically. I mean, I had clients. I was lucky to have clients that knew my design work from their nurseries, but now we're talking, homes, and we're talking kitchens, we're talking backyards, we're talking the whole thing. So how do I translate that? Well, you just push forward, push forward, push forward. I showed a lot of my own design, my own home. And then, my first client, to Leap of Faith hired me, and that went incredibly well. And then, then it's all about word of mouth. And then she told someone who told someone. And then little by little by little, within 3 years, it really exploded. And it's 3 years doesn't seem, 3 years is not a lot actually, but that's because I had, nearly 15 years prior to that, getting to this point. So I had a bit of an advantage, but that's because, again, I've been paying my dues for the last, 15 or so, or 20 years. So, but I would literally volunteer to do things for free. And then
build relationships in the space, right?
relationships, do all the difficult work, like getting the fabric samples, paint samples, swatches, returning, doing measuring, learning CAD, I think, is a huge advantage. So when we hire, we always like to hire people that are very good at either SketchUp or CAD or some of these software programs, so that they can be of use to us.
Yeah, they're very effective.
To learn those programs. There's no reason why you can't do them online these days. I mean, you can take classes online, perfect them so that you have something to give. You say, listen, I'll work for minimum wage, whatever that is. But guess what? I also know CAD, and then you're going to get hired because people are looking for people with skills. So get the skills and just keep at it.
That's awesome. Okay, very good. Major. Another thing, Nina, I want to ask you, I ask everybody because it's always something like a lot of people ask me to ask, and I want to know myself. Like, what would you say, like, what's your like morning routine? Because like we see this a trending thing, like people that are successful on the path you're on, there's something special going on in this.
Yes, it's true, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, mornings are crazy. So I'm a multitasker, but it's hard for me to, first of all, there's a study that's been done that there isn't a human on this planet that can do two things successfully at once. And everyone who's a multitasker says they are able to do it, but none of us are. However, those who multitask try, but it takes a lot of concentration. So in the mornings, the very first thing that I do is unfortunately, I have to go to my phone and make sure that I'm, checking everything. Everything has to be checked. We recently got a puppy, so now in the middle of all this, I have to take the puppy for its business. So that's another thing.
What puppy did you get? I want to hear the valuable stuff, but what puppy did you get?
The puppy's it's a rescue. We got a rescue, so we don't know what it is, but it's just the cutest little thing. And now that the kids are gone, we're like, we can need a puppy.
Yeah.
So turn the life a little bit upside down, but there's so much love and cuteness and everything.
I have 2 little Yorkies and I love them.
Oh my God, cute. So this looks like a mix between a lab and a some kind of terrier. I don't know. It's like tiny. It looks like a miniature lab. It's really cute.
Adorable. Okay, so you take care of your
Asian color. Yeah. But I have to say, my morning workout is very important, and I do Pilates, and I try and do it as many times as possible. But it's consistent, and it's at least 2 to 3 times a week. I do the Pilates. I do my Pilates. Now I take the dog for a walk, and so you have to get up, and you have to move, and you have to exercise, and that's really important to me. I do take moments of gratitude. Sometimes it's in the middle of the day, sometimes it's in the morning. And sometimes it's right in the middle of something. So it'll be a moment where I'm standing in a beautiful house and people are turning to me and they're like, Nina, what do I, and then they're asking me my opinion about something. And I just take that moment and I say, I take it all in and I say, I feel so lucky to be standing here right now. I absorb the moment. I had a launch with Ruggable, which is the biggest direct-to-consumer rug line. They asked me to do design a rug line for them. They asked Jonathan Adler, they did one with Keith Haring, and then they did one with me. I mean, like, what? How does this happen?
No, I mentioned that to my mother, and she's like, what? Literally, like, what? Like, no lie. And the next day, there's 2 Ruggable boxes in my the nursery room that we're doing. And I was like, wow, that's funny. Yeah. That's huge.
So it was a huge moment because it's a very big licensing deal. And I know licensing deals from having done it before. So I knew this was big, but I just, I didn't know how it happened. So I remember we were doing the photo shoot, and this company is insane. They had like 15 people at my house, lights, we had set designers, set decorators, lighting people, camera. I mean, it was a full shoot. People were busing into the house, craft services, COVID police. I mean, it was like,
It's like a 60 Minutes interview.
yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
exactly. It was like, I'm about to be, yeah, exactly. 60 minutes.
That's what I'm feeling right now.
That's what it was. Cameras everywhere. The house, they came the day before and spent, 10 hours redoing the house, meaning taking, putting the rugs down and sets, styling. And of course, I'm assisting with the styling and so on. And I'm standing there and they're like, okay, pose or whatever. And I'm standing there going, okay, I have to take this. I didn't even say it out loud, but I took it to myself. Take this moment to realize what is happening. You are standing in your own home. This is your dream. Your dream was always to be an interior designer, but to this level where you have people coming in and are interested in what you're doing, and you're standing on a rug that you designed, and you're here at this moment. Just take it all in. And so that's like where my moments of gratitude come from. I never take it for anything less than, magical. It was a magical moment. And I feel really lucky, and I feel very grateful. And I don't know how it happened, but I say to myself, thank you, whether it's God or a spiritual leader or, anything that you believe in. Take that moment to appreciate, take that moment for the gratitude, because these moments are few and far between. And so when they do happen, you have to take it into account. And I think that that's really, really important.
That is so major. Ian, how crazy, how valuable was that, bro?
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
That is amazing. You're just soaking it in, right? You're like, wait, I'm about to hit follow after this. I'm about to find everything she's doing. Everybody follow Nina. We're going to put your stuff in here anyway.
Oh, thank you so much.
But,
I try and inspire people and,
yeah.
and be kind. That's the other, portion that's important to me, where I can't even leave a negative Yelp review. I refuse, because when you put bad into the world, bad comes at you, right?
Yeah.
And what's that negative Yelp review going to do other than hurt the small business that's really trying hard? And I don't need to do that. I don't want to be that person. I don't even want to think about doing that, even though
I'm so with what you're saying.
The service was terrible. I'm still not going to put it in writing.
I say words out of my mouth. If I get a dish of food and it's bad, I'm like, you guys are doing good. Maybe take a look at it, but you're doing so good. I have this thing called an Oreo, where I start very sweet. In the middle, I have to say what I need to say to get what I need to get and get it clear. And then the end, Oreo super sweet,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
not to be, by the way, being kind is not to be confused with being not a like successful, hardworking, or a definitive person with a mindset. So having compassion is not equal being unsuccessful, if that makes sense. So having compassion and understanding how to deal with people is very different than being walked over. Like I don't get walked over.
I don't think I'm a pushover, but
I'm not a pushover
very sweet
at all.
Yeah,
but I am going
getting to it.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to approach things with a level of understanding and compassion, which will always win against any kind of negativity you put out there. It doesn't mean that I don't get mad. Of course I get mad or frustrated or angry or try and do things better or not deal with difficult situations. Believe me, I deal with them.
Yeah.
But I do it in a way that's not going to leave a negative trail behind, and that's as good as you can deal with it.
That's everything. Relationships is everything, right? And you know this very well. We know this well. I'm so nice. In the middle, I have to be stern. At the end, have an amazing day and weekend ahead. I can't wait to speak to you next week. But you get the message across,
Yeah.
The vibe and the energy. We're so on point, and it's awesome. And I'm just so excited. I'm so happy. And I want to say, Ian and I, we both can say this for, together. We feel grateful that you joined here today, because this is a lot of value. And we have a lot of up-and-coming entrepreneurs, like I said to you, and people that are in that struggle. Being an entrepreneur is not always, the sun doesn't always shine tomorrow. It shines, and you can control it as much as you want, but, there's a process to getting to that, bright space. So Again, I'm so happy, you came on, and yeah,
Thank you.
I think this
Thank
was
you.
awesome. So we're
Thank
gonna
you so
stay
much.
tuned with you, and we'd love to have you on again, maybe in 6 months or 12
Yes,
months.
of course. I'd love, love to do updates
Yeah,
and thank you again for having me. Again,
Yeah.
grateful to be part of this and this journey and to share my story, even if it helps one person. That's all that matters, right?
that's
Or if
it.
it helps no one, at least I got to chat with you guys. So that's
No,
great.
this is really special.
No, it's
And,
very inspiring. I'm sure we're going to see some comments, you know?
oh yeah,
Oh,
100%.
wonderful.
And Ian, we'll share it on the gram. I'll put it on the magazine. You put it on the Billionaires Club, whatever we'll do. And Nina, let's keep building together. We love
Oh,
you over here.
Love
So
it. Love it. Thanks,
keep up,
guys.
yeah, keep up all the
Have
great
a good
stuff.
one.
All right, take
right.
Much love and
Thank you.
success. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode. We upload a new episode every Friday at 5 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. We as well greatly appreciate those that have subscribed to the channel. We appreciate the love and the support. Lastly, if you've missed last week's episode, tune into the episode right here.